forums and things like that. So I thought I would create a video of all the stuff that I've learned so far. Make sure you stick around to the end because there's going to be a bonus one as well. So let's jump into the first one. So the first tip that we've got is actually using the painting tool. So what you may not realise is if we draw a road, like so, we'll just join these two up. And if we want to paint these edges, what you normally would do is jump over to the paint tool and just paint along the edge like so. But if you hold the shift key down, what it does is actually paint right up to the very edge of the road, as you can see. So that's just kind of normal, and that's up to the edge of the road. So when you're doing detailing, it makes it look much nicer. Next, we've got raising and lowering roads. So if you're just drawing a normal road, let's go back to the road tool, like so. It kind of does it flat, so you can obviously use this to raise it up and down. But what you can do is start from a higher or lower position. So if you use the arrow keys, so it's actually where the full stop and the comma is, you can actually just raise the road up to begin with, like so. So you can start higher up. You can start lower down as well. So if we cut into the, and it kind of draws into the ground like that, which can be quite useful if you're building motorways, things like that, and want a nice banked side to it. So like, as you can see there. Now we have rotating buildings. So one of the most annoying thing is when you place a building down. So let's grab a building. We'll do a truck station, that's fine. If you use the M and N key to rotate it, as you can see, it kind of goes in quite big steps, which is fine if the steps kind of line up with your road or wherever you want to put it. But what you can do, if you hold the shift key and press M or N, it rotates it slightly slower or in less degrees. So what you can do is get it lined up perfectly and then connect it up. So next up we have crossover tracks. So I use this quite a bit actually if you've watched any of my series. Actually what I normally do is double track it all the way up to the station. But what you need to do to make these little crossovers is you want to make these into one-way tracks. So let's grab a signal. And how you can do that is there's the little arrow that points to where you want it to go. So they'll be going that way on that track. So you want to put one that end. You can make it one way as well if you want to. And then you put one at the other end. So what the train's going to do, it's going to come in here, wait here, and then the other train will come in here, wait here, and then they can both kind of cross over. Like I say, you can do this at the end of stations and all over the shop. There's probably obviously quite a bit you can go into with signals, so if you think it's useful to have a separate video on signals, drop a comment down below and I will look at doing that for you. Next up we've got stations. So what you may not realise you can do is actually add cargo and passengers to the same station. There's one thing I always forget about and then end up doing either two stations or just not bothering it at all. So what you can do, let's grab a train station. We'll just grab a terminus one and we'll flip that round. We don't want it raised up. Like so. So that's just a passenger station. What we can then do is come into the config area and actually add cargo buildings as well. So let's add a cargo building. In fact, let's do a platform first. And then what we can do is add a cargo building. You can obviously add more passengers and things like that, but we've just added the cargo one, so you just have to make sure you get the right one. So you've got passenger and cargo on your platforms. We've added that in, so now goods will be able to be delivered here as well. Next up we've got enabling picture mode or photo mode. So what you may not realise, because it's not actually turned on by default, is there's actually a pretty decent photo mode, and you can also create videos in it as well. So to enable it, as you can see, I've not actually got it, it should be down here, but it's not actually enabled at the minute. So if you jump into the settings and go all the way to advanced, under here we've got enable camera tools. If we enable that and apply it, what you'll then get is a little camera down here. So what that then enables you to do, so you've got picture and video and various different resolutions and different you can select what camera you use as well. So if you go for the 35mm camera, it zooms in quite a bit, as you can see. And then you can actually get really close to the buildings and your stations and everything like that. So as you can see, you can take some pretty decent photos. The video mode as well is actually really powerful, so you can get some nice kind of cinematic shots. If you've not seen my video that I did with using the video, I'll link that down in the description. Go and check that out. And if you do want, again, another tutorial on how to use that, drop a comment down below. So next tip is actually to save you a little bit of money. This is especially useful in the beginning when you're starting out and you haven't really got any money, especially if you're playing the game properly. So the best thing to do on tracks is if you go and draw one big track, it's going to cost you huge amounts of money. So this is probably a bad example here because it's all flat. But if we were to go through kind of like that, it's going to cost us 650, 4,000 to do that track there. But if we do it in smaller pieces, as you can see, it costs a lot less money. And it doesn't start digging into the ground or building bridges that you don't want. So as you can see there, you can still obviously spend huge amounts of money, but it does bring your money under control a little bit. It does mean sometimes that the track's not going to be as flat as you probably would like it, but you can always come back later in game when you've got a lot more money and come and redo it. Next we've got how do towns grow. So to get towns to grow, the three things that they currently want, so this is obviously at the beginning of the map where they haven't actually added any more, they don't need a supply of any more goods or anything like that. So to get your houses to, the number of houses to increase in the population, you need to sort out your passengers and get them delivered as quickly and efficiently as possible to other areas of the map. For industry, I think on industry it's fuel for this one. So you can see the industries here. So to get that to grow, all you really need to do is deliver fuel here. And this industry section will grow quite a bit. And the same with commercial. So for this one they need food. So if you start delivering food here, the commercial side of it will grow. And as they kind of grow, they will need more and more supplies of different goods and things like that. Next we've got road construction. So one thing that happens when you draw roads, let's draw a little road here, is it actually snaps. As soon as you get close, it kind of snaps to the other roads, or if you go in kind of like this, as you can see, it snaps. But if you hold the shift key down, it stops it from snapping. So as you can see, it's not attempting. If you attempt to, if you go too far, it does connect. But what it means is you can a bit more precisely draw the road. As you can see there, it snaps, but if you hold the shift key down, it doesn't snap. So it can be quite useful to draw roads in parallel and things like that. Building higher bridges, so it's important that you actually build bridges higher up, especially if you're going to put ships underneath them. So as you can see, this bridge that I've built here, it's really low to the water, so ships aren't going to go under there if they need to. So the best thing to do, especially this bit, it doesn't actually really matter, but if you are going to plan on putting ships underneath it and you build the road first, make sure when you do a road, you raise it up like using the tip that we had before, and just make sure there's plenty of room underneath for a ship to get. So that might still not be high enough for this one, but you can go as high as you like, and that should be fine. So next up we've got Dropoff Zone. So it's something that I don't really use a great deal and probably should use more, but what you can do instead of doing what I've done here is where all the trucks go in and can back out again, what we can do instead is use, let's find where it is, under buildings, let's actually use an unload stop like this. So as you can see, it's close enough there to actually connect to everything. So we could have the truck stop there, it drops off everything there, which will feed into this, and then it kind of just carries on. Kind of saves it getting all clogged up as it is really doing here. One thing that I always forget is that there's a roundabout tool in this game. So as you can see, we've got a roundabout here. So what I normally end up doing is kind of trying to draw my own roundabout. It's never circular, it's kind of always got like weird shapes. So to get to that, under the street connections, is it? Yes, under street connections, you've actually got a tool that does it for you. So you can choose how many lanes you want. So if we go 3, and you can choose the inner radius for it as well. So let's go for the biggest one for now. And as you can see, it makes a perfect roundabout for you. And then all you need to do is connect up your roads wherever you want them to go. And it does help with traffic flow and things like that. It just kind of keeps everything moving. Better for later game, I think, once you've got a big cities and lots of transport and everything. Next up, we've got line management. So one of the things that, especially when you get later in game, you've got loads and loads of lines. It's difficult sometimes if we just look at the lines where we are now. As you can see, we've got all of them. Or pretty much all of them. And it's difficult to find which one you are actually wanting to look at and work on. So if you click on the little eye, it actually filters them down. So there, it hasn't actually filtered them down very much for us. But if you zoom right in and just look at the roads that you're interested in, it kind of filters out everything but the lines that go on that road, which makes it then much easier to select which line you want to work on. This one's still obviously got a few different lines, but if we go over to this road, for instance, there's only actually one truck or one line that goes down here. If we leave it as is, it kind of selects all of them. But if we zoom in, it's just going to show us the one that we're interested in. It's showing us 2 for that one for some reason, but we can see, obviously, because of the colour, which one it is. Next up, we've got using waypoints. So waypoints is actually something that I don't really use. I've never really, well, I have used them maybe on a couple of occasions, but not really that frequently. So what these are, so you've got them under road vehicles and under rail vehicles, so trains and things like that, is you can add waypoints to various places. So if we wanted, when the trucks come out of here, say we wanted them to go in this direction instead of this direction, which we probably won't want to do for this, we could actually put a waypoint somewhere down here. And then when you're doing your line, you can then come and select it. So they'd come in this direction, and then you could make them go, you can add multiple ones. So if there's another waypoint, say over here, so they go in a big circle, you can do that. So it's just a good way of kind of routing your trucks and your trains and things like that around the map. Avoiding tight curves on your roads. So this road is actually pretty straight here and pretty good, but what you want to try and do is avoid roads that kind of go like that. Because what's going to happen is the truck or the cars or whatever is coming down here, any traffic, is going to come down here, have to slow down to go around here, and then speed up again. And can just add time to your lines and things like that, just slowing everything down. So what you want to try and do is make them as straight as possible. So I think actually even on this one, let's just have a look at this truck. So it's going 62 miles an hour. It might be okay around there. No, it's having to slow down, see. So it's gone down to, in fact, it's slowed down quite a bit. And then obviously it then speeds up again. So if we make that dead straight, then they wouldn't have to slow down at all. And we've got now our bonus tip. So what you may not realise is actually you can enable larger maps in the game. So if you look at the minute, if we go into free game, map size, we've only got these maps, so small, medium, large and very large, but there is actually some hidden larger maps that you can unlock. So what you need to do first is go to this location, which is where all the Transport Fever files are, or some of them are saved. You need to open this settings file, so settings.lower. Once that opens up, you will be faced with this, and what you need to then do is find experimental maps. So as you can see here, we've got it set to false, but all you need to do is delete false and type true, like so, and then save that. And then once you're back in game, if you go to free game, and then on the map size, we've already got tiny selected, so that's a new one, and you've also got huge and megalomaniac. Now the megalomaniac map is extremely big. If you use that on a computer that's not that powerful, it does struggle a little bit, especially when you start building up the big cities and things like that. So kind of use that at your own risk, but it is there if you need it. And there we go, that's all the tips. If you've got any other tips that you know of, drop them in the comments below, and if you think it's useful for me to do another video on them, I should do that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well if you want more Transport Fever. I've got a series going off at the minute where I'm kind of just building a new map. And make sure you hit that like button. If you don't know, I've actually got a Tech Hench t-shirt as well available. Link is down in the comments below. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.